So in the last class we were discussing about examination of sputum, where I told you what kind of things you can check through naked eye examination of sputum. Uh, 1 second. Yeah. So through naked eye examination of sputum, what all you can see the quantity of mucus that is being produced. You can check for odor. You can check for consistency and appearance. All right. Whether it is viscous or it is colorless. Yeah. Is there any blood in it? Yeah. Is it deep yellow or indicating of condition like pulmonary edema? You can also check for pathogenic bacteria. So I told you some of the common bacteria that you can see is Mycobacterium TB, Klebsiella, and all of those. Okay. Now coming to checking for malignant cells in sputum, checking for tumor cells in sputum. This will be a form of exfoliative cytology. What you do is exfoliated cells from bronchi and lung epithelium that will provide evidence for diagnosis of cancer. Okay, if there is presence of exfoliated cells from bronchi or lungs, that will indicate in your sputum, in the patient's sputum, that will indicate that the patient has some sort of malignancy. Okay, now the cells that you see, the exfoliated cells will show some typical features. Okay, typical features of malignant cells. So malignant cells in sputum. Okay, features of cells seen. Now this will include they'll be pleomorphic, meaning they'll have varying shapes. Okay, cells generally tend to be pleomorphic, cancer cells. Okay, you will have altered nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio, altered nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio. Okay, you also see darkening of nuclei. As such, nucleus will become dark, will become very opaque, and sometimes nucleus will also undergo pleomorphism. You will see distortion in the shape of nucleus. All right, you can see abnormal mitosis. Okay, sometimes what will happen is these cells, they can be confused for macrophages or mesothelial cells. So you will use a particular dye for these type of cells, because what happens is sometimes macrophages and mesothelial cells will also show some similar abnormalities. They will also become pleomorphic, they might have abnormal mitosis, but they might not be exactly malignant cells. They'll not show all the features, but they can be confused. So you have to be careful when diagnosing this. All right. Now, you can use several stains to detect bacteria. Specifically, if you're trying to detect bacteria in sputum, you can use four common stains. Stains to detect bacteria in sputum. Okay. First of all, most common gram stain. Okay, gram stain. This will tell you whether the bacteria, it will help you differentiate between gram positive and gram negative bacteria. Some bacteria do not conform with this, so you have to use acid fast stain. Okay, for acid fast bacteria, acid fast stain. Mainly, this will be used. Acid fast stain is your Zeal Nielsen stain. Okay, it is used for identifying TB or for identifying nocardia or actinomycetes. Okay, so MTB. You can use it for what can you use? You can use it for nocardia and actinomycetes. Okay, actinomycetes species also respond to acid fast stain. You can use a silver impregnation test, especially in case of spirochetes and bacterial flagella. Syphilis को वो करने के लिए Troponema pallidum is a spirochete, उसको करने के लिए you can use silver impregnation test. Okay, there is silver impregnation test, mainly spirochetes and bacterial flagella. Okay, then you can use Indian ink. Okay, Indian ink is also called nigrosin stain. Okay, you can use it for demonstration of streptococcus pneumoniae or क्लेब, दोनों के लिए काम आता. strep pneumoniae, and Klebsiella pneumonia. Then these are some of the bacteria that you can find. These are some of the bacterial detection tests that you can perform for testing bacteria in sputum. If you want, sometimes you'll also find parasites in sputum, specifically the types of parasites that you find in sputum. So parasites in sputum. Generally, what happens is if there is a parasitic lung infection, the patient will start coughing parasites out. So you will see different things. Sometimes you will see scolex and hooklets. Agar hydrated cyst infection hua, hydrated cyst of lung, then the patient will cough out scolex and hooklets, the parts of the parasite that will help it hook onto the cells. Okay. You can sometimes see daughter cysts as well. ठीक है. Inside the sputum you can see ova of Paragonomus. ठीक है. Paragonomus westermani बोल के एक parasite रहता, you can see that, or you can see larvae of strongyloids. So what else can you see? You can see, one second, you can see hooklets, ठीक है, and scolex of hydrated cyst. Other than that, you can see um, Paragonomus, ova of Paragonomus westermani. Paragomoniasis cause करता है ये parasite. You can find this in sputum, or you can find larvae of strongyloids. ठीक है. स्ट्रोंगुलाइड सैकरालिस बोल के एक पैरासाइट रहता, उसके larvae you can find in sputum. Sometimes if there is a very heavy infection, you can find small Ascaris lumbricoids that will be coughed out. Okay. So heavy Ascaris infection. Mind you, we are seeing this in sputum. Okay, so they are one way or the other associated with the lung where the patient is coughing it out. Okay. You can also find some trophozoite forms of entamoeba histolytica which are entering tissue. Okay. That can cause cystic form will only remain in the cystic form of entamoeba histolytica will remain in the intestine, but the tissue form is mainly trophozoite that will migrate into your portal blood vessels, and from there it can go anywhere it likes. Okay. Generally it will be associated with liver abscess. I may be liver abscess रहता patient को, or the patient from a big liver abscess, that abscess has burst into the lung. Okay. From there it has burst and the parasite has gone all the way up to your lung. In that conditions you will be able to see entamoeba histolytica. Okay. uh, histolytica, specifically trophozoite form. Right. So these are some of the parasites that you can see in sputum. Then you can also see crystals. Specifically, two types of crystals can be seen. Crystals in sputum. One is called Charcot-Leyden crystals. This we studied in asthma as well. Charcot-Leyden crystals you can see in asthma or asthma-like conditions as well. Leyden crystals. Then second type you can see is fatty acid crystals. Now, Charcot-Leyden crystals जो है, they will be colorless, elongated, sharp crystals. ठीक है. They look like this. One second. See, this is the stained form of Charcot-Leyden crystal. What you can see in pink, those sharp ends like rice granules but sharper. Those are Charcot-Leyden crystals. So they'll be sharp, pointy. They'll technically be octahedral. यहाँ पर ऐसा दिख रहा as it is a spindle shaped, but they are actually octahedral shaped. Okay, octahedral crystals रहते. You cannot solubilize them in water or alcohol. They are not even soluble in ether. They're only soluble in acids and alkalis. Okay. So this fellow only soluble in acids and alkalis. Uh, it is thought that hypothesis that Charcot-Leyden crystals जो है, they are formed from disintegrated eosinophils. Whenever a patient has something like asthma or any other lung problem where there is a lot of disintegration of eosinophils, those eosinophils might be responsible for the formation of Charcot-Leyden crystals. Okay, uh, it is not exactly a diagnostic tool for asthma patients, but you do find them in asthma patients. You find them in other conditions as well. You can find them in some parasitic infections of the lung as well. But in any case, if there is degeneration of eosinophils, that is when you find Charcot-Leyden crystals. Now, coming to fatty acid crystals, these will be diamond shaped, okay, and they will glisten. They will be shiny crystals, right? You can see some other forms as well, other than diamond, because their shape can be variable. But generally, you will see them in diamond shape. You can solubilize them in alcohol, or you can solubilize them in acetone, ठीक है, या xylene. फिनॉल का एक टाइप रहता है xylene, ठीक है. Either one of any one of those will be able to solubilize fatty acid crystals, and you can make sure that it is fatty acid. You mainly see fatty acid crystals in gangrene, ठीक है, gangrene of lung, or the patient has putrid bronchitis. Putrid bronchitis is when the patient is already having pus, and the patient is having a lot of suppuration along with putrefaction, meaning that pus and literally क्या हो रहा है, पहले gangrene हो रहा है, gangrene ने बैक्टीरिया आके it is making it very smelly, ठीक है, it is becoming very putrid, ठीक है. नेक्रोसिस में जब बैक्टीरिया आ जाता है and it becomes putrid, that is when gangrene occurs. Okay, putrid bronchitis is occurring, or else the patient has chronic TB. In all of these conditions, you'll be able to see fatty acid crystals. Then another thing you check for in sputum will be blood. Now, blood can be variable. You can see a little bit of a few specks of blood in sputum. Okay, depending on different kind of conditions, you will have different amounts of blood. But you can see blood in two forms. You can either see a little bit of blood that might not even be visible to naked eye, or you can see frank blood. Frank blood is when it is very apparent and you can see it with naked eye, and it is in a good quantity. Okay, a copious quantity sometimes, or there is a good quantity of blood in sputum. उसको frank blood बोलते हैं. All right. uh, so you have frank blood or microscopic blood. Microscopic blood you can obviously not see with your naked eye. You need a microscope. You need to perform a few tests to do that. Now, generally speaking, chemical tests for blood will be helpful when blood is lysed. Okay, and it is when blood is in very very small quantity. When you want to test sputum for blood, that is when you perform chemical test. ठीक है, अगर blood is not visible to the naked eye, अगर आप suspect कर रहे हैं कि there is blood in the patient is coughing blood out, they are showing some other symptoms of blood loss or blood getting congealed, then you can perform these chemical tests. Now, you'll see blood in sputum in three main conditions. Okay, you can see it in any inflammatory condition like bronchitis, yeah, TB, yeah, pneumonia, especially pneumonia due to Klebsiella. ठीक है, या फिर the patient is having septic pulmonary embolism. All right, yeah, there is cystic fibrosis, yeah, lung abscesses हो रहे. Those are the inflammatory conditions in which you see. So there is bronchitis, Klebsiella pneumoniae. This is causing pneumonia. Okay, when pneumonia is caused by Kleb, or the patient has lung abscess. Okay, the patient might have bronchiectasis. ठीक है, these are all inflammatory conditions in which you can see blood. या फिर another cause can be cancer, so neoplastic origin. So अलग अलग cancers has mainly neoplasms. It can be benign cancer or it can be मैलिग्नेंट कैंसर एज वेल, ठीक है। बेनाइन कैंसर में जनरली क्या हो रहा है, रेस्पिरेटरी ट्रैक्ट इज डेवलपिंग अल्सरेशन, दैट इज व्हेन यू स्टार्ट सीइंग blood, that ulcer is becoming complicated, it is perforating blood vessels and you are seeing blood, that is one reason. या फिर there is a malignant lesion which is growing to an extent where blood is coming out in sputum, again that is also damaging blood vessels and ultimately leading to blood in this thing. So it can be both benign and malignant respiratory tract tumors. Third condition will be others. Now others में आते thromboembolism, specifically pulmonary thromboembolism या mitral stenosis उसमें दिखता है आपको, या फिर left ventricular failure, okay, when left ventricle is not able to pump blood properly, या फिर there is tracheobronchial trauma, any type of trauma, if they are falling down, if some piercing damage is occurring, in that condition you will see blood in sputum. और if there is a foreign body, ठीक है, ब्रोंकोलिथियासिस भी है तो ब्लॉकेज कर रहा या डायरेक्ट ट्रॉमा कर रहा, तो those are all other conditions in which you'll be able to see blood in sputum. Okay. More commonly you'll see inflammatory condition, sometimes neoplastic condition, others are rare, it will only occur as a complication, so the patient has broncholithiasis and it is occurring rarer compared to the first two. Okay. Mitral stenosis हो रहा या thromboembolism से हो रहा, pulmonary thromboembolism. Now, the last thing that you can see in sputum, or you can check for sputum, is fungi. Fungus in sputum. So, isme you will see three main types of organisms. Okay, you can see yeast-like histoplasma. So, you can see yeast-like histoplasma, or you can see Cryptococcus neoformans. ठीक है, अगर हिस्टोप्लाज्मा है, हिस्टोप्लाज्मा क्लास कैप्सुलेटम, व्हाट विल हैपन इज यू विल सी स्मॉल ओवल budding cells, okay, oval to round budding cells, and they'll be like clusters, histocytes का वैसा रहते हैं. अगर क्रिप्टोकोकस है वो तो बहुत वेरिएशन आता है साइज में, दे आर यूजुअली स्फेरिकल बट दे कैन बी फुटबॉल शेप्ड एज वेल, सो दे फुटबॉल एज इन नॉट आवर फुटबॉल, आई मीन अमेरिकन फुटबॉल, सो इट विल बी लाइक ओवल इन शेप. क्रिप्टोकोकस में जो सेल्स, क्रिप्टोकोकस इन्फेक्शन अगर हुआ तो सेल्स कैन बी राउंड और दे कैन बी दिस शेप्ड. Okay. The buds generally will be single, but they can be multiple as well, which can be pinched off. Okay. Those are some things that you can see. Sometimes you can see yeast and pseudo hyphae and hyphae. Okay, specifically Candida species. So other than this, you can see B is Candida. Okay. Other than Candida, sometimes you can also see Candida agar ho raha hai, there'll be single blood budding. Okay, you can see hyphae are present along with septate. Then you can see Aspergillus. These are the common infections that will occur in the lung, common fungal infections. या तो histoplasma होता, Cryptococcus होता, Candida होता या Aspergillus होता. These are the more common ones. Okay, Aspergillus specifically, you'll be able to see 45-degree glance and branching. So, and you will see larger hyphae, very large hyphae. Okay, generally they will be dichotomous. So, those are some of the fungi that you can see in sputum. With that completes our examination of sputum. What all different things you can check for in sputum. Now coming to examination of gastric and duodenal contents, specifically we'll start with gastric contents. So first of all, chief constituents of gastric juice. What can you find in gastric juice normally? What should you find normally? Okay, there is pepsinogen. Okay, pepsinogen is secreted by your chief cells. You can find hydrochloric acid. Okay, parietal cells will secrete HCl. You can find intrinsic factor, helps in digestion. Then you can find mucus. Goblet cells will generally secrete mucus. You have gastrin and somatostatin. Both of them are secreted by D cells. Okay, delta cells of your stomach lining. You can find chymosin. Chymosin generally जो है, you can find in stomach of young animals, not as much in humans. Okay, chymosin and renin, chymosin or renin. This renin is double NIN. Okay, not the renin secreted by your kidneys. It helps in coagulating milk. Okay, milk clotting gastric factor भी बोलते हैं इसको. These are the normal constituents. Okay, in normal healthy individual, you should be able to find these. Abnormal constituents. So one second. Right, constituents. Abnormal constituents will be blood. You should not find blood. अगर blood है gastric constituents में, there is a problem. We will discuss about what happens with, generally due to hemorrhage. Okay, different types of reasons for hemorrhage. We'll discuss about that in chemical constituents. Food remnants, especially after several hours of eating. Generally what happens is once you eat, it will take around 6 hours after eating for your stomach to get completely empty. Okay, that is when you start feeling hungry again, when HCl will start getting accumulated in your stomach and slowly you start having the feeling of hunger. But in any case, once you've eaten food, a normal quantity of food with respect to your body, you should be satiated. At least your stomach should be occupied for six hours minimum. Okay, it can be more depending on the quantity you are eating, but generally 6 hours will be the normal amount. Okay, 6 hours के बाद what happens is once all the food has moved into the intestines, once it has moved into the duodenum and small intestine, HCl will start getting accumulated in your stomach, and that is when hunger will be triggered. That is when you eat again. Okay, then food remnants are abnormal in that sense after a long period of time, or a large quantity of mucus or bile. ठीक है, अगर बाइल है तो जनरली इट represents a reflux disease. One of the sphincter is not working properly. Pyloric sphincter is not working properly, because of which bile might be refluxing into your stomach. It should not. That is abnormal. Finding a few bacteria is abnormal, specifically Sarcina, या pyogenic bacteria. Generally what happens is HCl will kill all the bacteria and pathogens that are entering into your stomach. Rarely if the bacteria is potent enough and it has a protective covering, that is when the bacteria will survive. Huge amounts of lactobacillus should not be present in your stomach, or yeast cells. Okay, generally these will be found when the patient is having achlorhydria. Achlorhydria is a condition in which the patient is not making enough amount of HCl. Okay. See, HCl is not just important in digesting food, it is also helpful in triggering hunger, it is also helpful in killing bacteria and pathogens that are present in the food that you are eating. Okay. That is why the pH of the stomach is very low, because HCl is pretty concentrated in your stomach, and it has a protective function as well. If there is decreased amount of HCl for because of whatever reason, HCl is not being secreted properly in your stomach, pathogens will start proliferating in your stomach. Okay. uh, Another abnormal finding is tissue fragments. Tissue, tissue fragments, generally from exfoliation of cells or tissue damage, you'll be able to see tissue fragments. Okay, or finding parasites as well, that is abnormal. Any roundworm or amoeba species, that is what you generally find in stomach. या फिर organic acids, lactic acid. ठीक है, ये दो acid will generally be seen in the absence of HCl. If HCl content in your stomach decreases, organic acids and lactic acids will start getting accumulated in your stomach. Okay, generally indicates of achlorhydria or any condition where HCl levels are lower than normal. So these are all the abnormal constituents of your stomach. These should not be present. Now, coming to the findings, routine findings of gastric juice examination. If you perform gastric juice examination, what you will have? First of all, upon physical examination, okay, let's suppose you withdraw a little bit of gastric juice from a patient and you're checking it through your naked eye. several physical examinations. First thing you'll check for is amount. How much amount of gastric juice is present. Normally, fasting content, if the patient has not eaten, they should have around 30 to 35 ml of gastric juice. Okay. Now, amount is increased if the patient is having pyloric stenosis. Okay. If your pyloric sphincter is not closing properly, or the patient is having what you call gastric ulcer. Yeah, if there is malignancy, cancer, in that condition, amount will be variable. Generally, it will be increased. Okay. Second thing you'll check for is color. Generally, what will be your secretion, gastric secretion, it will be translucent. Agar normal fasting stomach se liya aap, it will be gray and translucent, pale gray and translucent, slightly viscous, and it will have a pungent odor. You can see specific color, like let's suppose it will be red if there is trauma. Okay, generally there is ulcer, yeah, there is any other form of bleeding. In that condition, you will see what do you call red colored gastric content. Okay, red colored gastric juice. You can see yellow or green colored juice if there is bile reflux. Agar bile starts getting mixed up in gastric content, it will get tinged with yellow or slightly greenish in color discoloration. Then you'll check for odor. Normally odor should be sour. Okay, uh, normal odor is sour and rancid. Okay, slightly rancid, not completely rancid. Rancid is okay. Rancid is something that, let's suppose you have uh, but made a little bit of curd and set a little bit of curd, and you leave it out for about 1 or 2 days more. Okay, what will happen in our weather? It will become increasingly sour and it will have a very distinct smell, right? That is a rancid smell. Okay, it is very very sour to eat as such. Usko rancid bolte हैं. Okay, now your gastric content should normally be slightly you should be sour and slightly rancid. Okay, color is pale gray. Normal color is pale gray. Normal amount is 35 to 40 ml, 30 to 35 ml, around that range. Okay, then odor will change when there is either intestinal obstruction. Agar intestinal obstruction hai to you'll start having fecal odor in gastric juice, or if there is uremia, if there is increased amount of uric acid and urea in the blood, that is when you will start having a ammonia like smell from gastric juice. Those are the two uncommon odors that you see. Then pH. Normal pH of your gastric content should be around 1.6 to 1.8. Okay, pH should be 1.6 to 1.8. Varies in case of a problem, disease. Okay, then coming to mucus. Okay, normally a little bit of mucus is fine. Small quantity of mucus should be present, but excessive mucus agar present hai, then that generally indicates that the patient is having some inflammatory problem. They might be having chronic gastritis, or they might be having a pyloric obstruction. Okay, aware that normally what happens is whatever mucus that is produced in your stomach, it does two functions. One is it will neutralize the acid if there is excessive acid, and second is once it has done its function, it will go down into your duodenum, it will go into the small intestine and it will pass out. ठीक है, यहाँ पर क्या हो रहा, because there is pyloric obstruction, mucus will start getting accumulated. That is one reason why you'll see excessive mucus, or there is, inflammation like proper chronic gastritis where the patient is having a lot of mucus in the stomach. Then sometimes particulate matter. Now, particulate matter you'll check for in gastric juices, especially after 24 to 48 hours after eating. Like once a patient has had a meal, if you check the gastric juice after 24 to 48 hours, it should not have any particulate matter altogether. Okay. If it is having particulate matter, it generally indicates that the patient is having pyloric obstruction. Okay. Food particles are not going down into the small intestine completely, because of which particulate matter is being retained inside. right? Then the next test we'll do for chemical constituents, we'll discuss about chemical constituent test tomorrow, right? What you'll check for chemical constituents in gastric juice. All right, then we'll do duodenal contents.